All right. Good evening, everyone. Let me get a few settings taken care of here, and we should be good to go. Good evening. There we go. All right. Well, let's start with some hellos tonight. Let's see who we got in here. David Iverson, what's going on? Will B, what's going on, my man? Welcome. I'm going to be doing a combination of standing and sitting tonight because my lower back is still kind of messed up, and I can't sit or stand for too awful long without hurting. Let's see who else we got here. Gonzo, what's up, my man? Moderator extraordinaire. Good evening. Marcos Gamma. What's up, brother Eionan? What's up to you, man? Welcome. Let's see who else we got in here already. You guys have been talking a lot. Holy crap. Michael Morgan, what's going on? There's my other mod. What's up, Mimo? What's up? All right, so cool. So we got 9 folks in here. I'm going to give this a little bit of time to populate. I did see you guys talking about the heat. It is 107 on my back fancy thermometer and 12% humidity here in southern Arizona. It's hot, but it's dry. I got a lot to talk about tonight, guys. Just a ton of stuff going on. There's Mike Jernak. What's going on, man? All right, so driving in traffic, so I'll be listening. I hope you get home soon so you don't have to listen while you're driving. But thanks for being in here anyway. I really appreciate it. Blaze Burger. Yeah, what's up, brother? What's up, stiff defense? Can't stay at Suns hockey practice. I used to play hockey in college, and I actually had a pro tryout once. We'll have to talk about that sometime. Just jump in, hit the like button, and say hi. Well, thank you, Blaze Burger. I very much appreciate that. For those of you who are just listening, I'm going to throw this out there, although I will show it and mention it again. The word of the week for this week is mayo. All right, on to other things. Let's see. Shout outs. I got, what do you got here, Gonzo? I got me a murdered out. Jimbo too. Okay, cool, man. I like the murdered out ones, actually. I think they're really cool. Let's see. There's Cue Ball. What's up there, brother? We'll get you in there. So a couple things. You know that I always like to do shout outs at the beginning and toward the end of the broadcast. So I'll do the early shout outs now. Shout outs to Josh Branson, even though he's not in here. And shout out to my 2 moderators, Gonzo Reviews and Michael Morgan, Mimo, my moderator extraordinaires. Thank you guys very, very much. Special shout out to Jason Brown and Patina Turner. They paid it forward and did some do something kind for someone stuff this week, and I found out about it. So shout out to them. I will talk about that a little later. Michael Upchurch, what's going on, man? Thank you for stopping in, sharing some of your Tuesday evening with me. I really appreciate that very, very much. Let's see. What else have I got for shout outs here? Obviously, wait a minute. I'm missing one of the prime shout outs here. Shout out to QBall981, who is in the stream tonight. Like a big shout out to him. A lot of stuff's going on behind the scenes. His generosity and his do something kind for someone mantra that's carried on through Zach's altruism, I think, is outstanding. I cannot say enough about Q-Ball. He's been phenomenal, super supportive of me and the channel and lots of other people in the knife community. So big shout out to him. And then once again, like I said, Jason Brown and Patina Turner and one other knife community member who apparently wanted to remain anonymous for doing something really, really kind for a knife community member who had a terrible situation happen this past week. So shout out to you guys. Much love, all right? Let's see, we're up to, what, 17 people in here? So Blades and EDC, what's going on? Jamie, you and I are going to talk this week. We're going to try to get you on for 5 and 5 and a little short spot next week, okay? So hit me up on email when you get a chance. If not, I'm going to pester you until you come on the show, all right? Because I know you got a lot of cool knives, and I would love to have you share some of them. So let's start with the normal things, and then I'll get into some of the other stuff that's going on. Pocket checks. Why don't you guys start throwing up your pocket checks, and I will also tell you what I am carrying today. All right? Yes, please hit the like button. If you have not hit the like button, please do that. Me with knives. There's another one of my brothers right there. Me with knives. I am doing good, man. Today's the Army's birthday. Cool. Cool. There won't be quite as many drunk people running around as there will on 10 November when it's the Marine Corps birthday, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of people tying one on today for the Army's birthday. All right, so let me see here where we're going at. Yeah, please be sure to hit that like button. I totally agree. Hit that like button. We got 17 people in here and 11 likes. Come on, somebody is slacking. Somebody's slacking. Aberdeen Blades, welcome in. Thanks for sharing some of your Tuesday evening with me. Much appreciated. All right, so let's see here. I got to go figure out where pocket check started. I look back here somewhere inside. I don't see anybody's pocket checks yet. I know there's a lag in the stream, so hopefully you guys will start throwing them pocket checks up there for me. Here we go. Oh, there it is. Gonzo's got one. Gonzo is carrying a QSP black micarta penguin. Cool. Would that be the silver blade or the blackwash blade? Let's see. Oh, there's Will. Will's up there. Will B is carrying a Grimsmo Norseman, Spyderco Schmack, Kaiser Begleader XL. It's a good thing that Will has a lot of stuff in his pocket. It gives all you guys a chance to catch up and type in your pocket checks. He's carrying also a Sabibi Chevalier, an Olight Baton 3. Whoops. There it goes. A Streamlight Macro Stream and an Everyman Grafton pen. Will's always got a lot of stuff in his pocket, so it's always fun to read his. Let's see. Michael Morgan. He's carrying a ZT 0562 tie and 20 CB. I own one of those as well. Beautiful knife. Actually, I think it's better than the Hinder. Kaiser Urban Bowie in 154 CM and an Eionan's Edge Hank in Poly Cotton Damascus. Woohoo! That's right. Courtesy of Mrs. Edge. Let's see here. Spokane Baitman, first, thanks for coming in, and let's see what you got to carry. Microtech Ultratech 2 Step-Side Tanto. Very, very nice. Cue Ball has the Kubi Atlas in tie at the moment. Very nice, sir. You actually posted a picture of that a little while ago on Instagram. And if you haven't checked out Cue Ball's Instagram channel, it's pretty much, you need to follow it, guys. You just do. Let's see here. Gonzo says, whoops, I missed it. It jumped on me a little bit. It just jumped. Sorry. Acid Washed Blade by Said Stevie. Okay, gotcha. Blades in EDC says he's carrying a Yojimbo 2 and a $20 Maslon titanium fifth pocket knife. I have one of those too. I bought the plain one and it had a Serge Panchenko logo on the back. But apparently it's not one of his designs. I'm not sure what's up with that. But it's a cool little knife. $19.50 through Amazon. I have it as well. Let's see. Aberdeen Blade says Will must be wearing cargo shorts or 511s, right? One or the other. I got some. That's what I carry. When I have a lot of stuff in my pocket, I'm usually wearing my 511s. Let's see. Yeah, what's that? Blade says Will B is carrying a Pelican case with him. Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's every week though. His pocket check is huge every week. It's always really, really fantastic to see what he's got. Let's see. Mike Jurnek says 945. I'm not sure what that's all about there. David Iverson is carrying a ZT 308. Love that knife. Used to have one. Wish I didn't sell it. We the People version. A Jack Wolf Shop Shooter. Awesome knife. Unripe Watermelon. Angry Bee. Leatherman Skeletal CX Hinder Pen Olight I1R. Stars and Stripes Edition. Love it. And an Olight I5R tie and a Forest Hank. Will says, I like to be prepared. I've got the Norseman Schmack and Begleader XL in my PJ pants on the couch right now. There you go. Anybody breaks in while you're in your PJs, they're in trouble. Right? Let's see. Hey, extra credit, by the way, to anybody who knows what this logo here is on my shirt, which you'll see later. Let's see. Rule 999. Anybody else got a pocket check to throw up there for me? Anybody? No? All right, well, I'll tell you what I got in here, seeing as how we got 20 people in the stream. I am carrying, I'll start with the small stuff. I am carrying the little baby Olight. This is I3, I believe they call it. I am carrying, as always, a Victorinox Classic SD. Sometimes I carry a Cadet, also known as the Recruit. I am carrying a Mrs. Edge red, white, and blue fidget ball. I also have a giant mouse, Ace Biblio in green micarta and M390. That is my small knife carry for the day. And I am carrying a knife that came to me via Q-Ball as well. This is the Tucson TS22. This is an older titanium knife by them. It is no longer available. It has beautiful looking D2 on it. I believe it's a hand rubbed satin because it doesn't show a lot of fingerprints. And it's got a little pebbled carbon fiber insert over here and a blue titanium back spacer. It's a very cool little knife. This is going to be part of my collection now, so woohoo! And that is what I've got for my carry today, folks. Let's see, anybody else jumping in here? Oh yeah, we got a couple people. Darnell, what's going on, my man? How you doing? Oh, Michael Upchurch says, and a Stars and Stripes veteran, hell of a Hank too. Forgot that. Yeah, we got to include those handkerchiefs for sure, man. Wilby says, I keep a Grafton pen and a Streamlight in my work pocket as well. Awesome, awesome. Let's see. Cue Ball, he says, got to hold my first giant mouse at Blade Show, 98 Biblio, but it was a good one. I'll have to ask, said Stevie, the name. It might have been a quarter, or there's a brand new one that has access lock, kind of like a Benchmade knife, and that's their new knife. But they've got a few different ones. There's the Nimbus, there's the Corda, the Rib is the little teeny tiny one. So let's see what else we got going on here. Freak Show, what's going on, my man? How you doing? Sorry, I'm late. Just got home from work. That's all right, man. Crack open a beer, go outside to the grill, start barbecuing your dinner, and listen in. There you go. Let's see. Q-Balls, Johnny Casada. Casada, as I would like to say. Quesadilla, yeah. Johnny Casada, what's going on? I didn't see you. Oh, there he is. There he is. What's going on, my man? Drubby Tunes is in here. Welcome, Drubby Tunes, as well. Yeah, Gonzo said, fire up the grill, brother. I'm sure that's exactly what Jeremy's heading out to do right now. He's probably going out to fire up the grill. So let me talk about a couple other things real quick, now that we mostly got pocket checks done. And if you're just coming in and you did not throw up your pocket check, throw it up there, and I will do my best to shout it out on the screen, all right? So a couple quick reminders here. I want to let everybody know that Fully Deployed episode 4 is live now on my channel. That I also made a playlist for Fully Deployed. So if you want to go in and just hit the playlist, if you've never watched any of those episodes, they're a lot of fun. They're all based off of things that happen in the knife community. And episode 3 had some cameo appearances by Tri-State and Satu Dave, which they both loved. So if you haven't seen those yet, go over and check those out. They're just done in fun. I've been trying to do them every other week. I might stretch it out a little bit once in a while, depending upon what's going on in the knife world. If there's not really a lot going on, I might make it every 3 weeks, but they'll pretty much be every couple weeks that I'll have a new episode of those out. But episode 4 is out tonight. Oh, no grilling tonight. Free Show says it's 95 degrees plus today. Yeah, and it's probably super humid where you are too. Anyway, Fully Deployed episode 4. It's live now. They're only 2 or 3 minutes long, each one of them, and they're always knife content related. This one is called Aftermath, meaning aftermath of Blade Show, which episode 3 was about Blade Show. So go check that out if you haven't done so. Short, easy to watch, and pretty fun. It's basically knife puppet theater if you've never gone and looked at it. Okay, a couple of other things. Once again, if you're watching, here you go. Some of you guys have been keeping track of this, writing it down. If you have, you're going to be very glad that you did when we start doing giveaways. Let's see. Also want to mention real quick that 4th of July. So the 4th of July is on a Monday. My live stream is on the 5th, on Tuesday. But my July 5th live stream is going to be called the 4th of July celebration. And that live stream will have a giveaway in it, a knife giveaway. It is going to be a pay it forward type of thing. It is a very nice knife. It's the nicest knife I'll have ever given away on this channel to this point, I believe. And you will have to be in the live stream on July 5th to have a chance to win that knife. Okay? And that's all I'm going to say about it for now. I will mention it again, reminder at the end of the stream, and let everybody know. Also, I have a 5 and 5 tonight. I also have a guest coming on the show. He is in the live stream chat right now, and I am going to throw a link up for him. So whenever he is ready and prepared, I can get him on here for you guys. I think you will very, very much enjoy what he has to show. And I know he's a popular guy, so you're going to love seeing him on the live. All right, let me get that taken care of. I'm going to sit down for a second, rest my achy back. Oh, let's see, where did I leave off here too? I know I missed some people in chat. What's this here? It's all Karen Neves' fault. She read out his name as Quesadilla one night during a live stream. I texted her and said, dude. Yeah. The first time I saw it, I thought that's what it said as well. I thought that's exactly what it said. Let's see. Invite. All right, let's get you in there. All right, I have thrown up a link there, and I will read some more comments while that person is getting themselves backstage here in StreamYard. Scott N is in here. What's going on, brother? Scott, don't forget to throw up your pocket check. I will try to catch it and read it off if I can. Let me adjust this a little bit. So again, anybody know what this is? Here we are. I'm backwards on the camera. Anybody know what this is? Somebody in the stream has to know what this is and what company this is. Let's see here. Scott, Blazing EC. Smash the like button. Greg Vanderlip. Yes, thank you, sir. A couple other quick things. Besides the 4th of July, belated 4th of July celebration for my July 5th live stream, which will have a giveaway in it, a very good one. We're doing 5 and 5 tonight. I am going to have story time with Eionan a little later. I gave you the word of the week, and I have a very cool talking point subject question I'm going to throw out to everybody. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of knife history with it, which I think will be very, very interesting. And it'll be really cool when I get my guest on here, because I think we can do his 5 and 5, and then I'm sure he'll have some insight and talking points into this as well. So, are you ready there, big guy? Not ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. All right. Anyway, so what I wanted to go over too was where was it? I lost track of where I was. So 4th of July, story time with Eionan. I'm going to give you 2 stories tonight, by the way. There's going to be 2. One that I believe Stav and Troy asked me about recently, and I responded to him by email, but I'm going to share that with all of you guys. And then the second one will be a regular story time closer to the end. Are we good to go, man? We got a thumbs up? Yeah? I'm going to bring you in. Okay, here we go.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
There we go. So my special guest tonight, thank you, sir, for being so
How's
gracious
everybody doing?
to come on, is obviously Cue Ball. Cue Ball is on tonight. Yes.
I had to bring a drink with me. I'm so sorry. I'm actually not feeling like the best today, so my apologies here.
Well, hopefully you do feel better, brother.
But I'll try to keep it, upbeat and cheerful. So for sure.
Cool.
Yep.
So we're gonna, without too much ado here, are you ready to go ahead and do the 5 and 5?
I am actually. I did prepare. So, I did my homework.
Cool. So 27 people in the stream. And 26 likes. All right, you guys are doing a good job, because there's a couple people that are listening, I know, driving their cars. So I'll cut you guys some slack there, all right? Dwayne Letterman, what's going on? Devil Dog, still at work, guys. Okay, listening from work, but thank you. That explains why we're missing a couple likes. Trying to give support. I very much appreciate that, man. And now that we got a lot of people in here, before you start, Q-Ball, I just want to reiterate some of these shout outs. First of all, I have a big shout out to this man here because he's been immensely helpful, both behind the scenes and to the rest of the community. So thank you, Q-Ball, for everything you do around here.
Absolutely. No,
much appreciated.
You know, this community gives back in so many different ways, and I can't tell you, this last year has just been incredible. The friendships that I've made, the connections. I mean, obviously, I was able to go to the Blade Show this year and meet a lot of people that I've been conversing with and commenting with online and in the live streams and in the comments on videos and in Instagram. And so, just know that if you're new here or if you have people that are needing a place to go and sense that that I don't know, just that intimate level of community that that we all crave at times and need at times. This is the knife community is where it's at. This is it's been an unreal experience. So, and I love each and every one of you. Just know that. And if I forget to say hello or if I miss you, don't. It's not because I don't love you.
Yeah.
So just know that.
No doubt. I always tell people, if you've never actually been either run a live stream or been a guest on a live stream, you don't realize how tough it is to talk.
It is hard.
Keep an eye on comments so that you don't miss too much, but it is pretty difficult. But hey, the other thing is like what you were mentioning about the past year. Just this week, the people I've shouted out, you, Jason Brown, Patina Turner, Josh Branson, like those people have all done something just this week to give back to the community, right? And it's an ongoing thing. Like there's stories all throughout the year of people doing stuff for other people. Just a couple weeks ago, a bunch of people from the knife community got together and bought Grumpy one of his Holy Grail knives that he wanted, right? Yeah. And they just sent it to him for free. By the way, shout out to Grumpy as well. He's done a lot for my channel. So that's an ongoing theme. It's not just like a once in a while deal. This community, like Q-Ball said, this community is very, very, for being so spread out all over the country and the globe, this community is very, very close and does a lot of good things for one another.
Absolutely.
So with that said, now the shout out's done. And again, shout out to Mimo and Gonzo, my two moderators. You guys are great. I love having you guys here. Brother from another mother, all right? So without any further ado, I'm going to bigify you, and I'm going to let you go ahead and jump into the 5 and 5, okay?
All right. So like I said, I did my homework, and it's interesting. Just a little preface here. Being at Blade Show, there's hundreds of booths set up, and if, for those of you who haven't been to like a Pew Pew convention or a Blade Show convention of any type, it's overwhelming. And I tried to plan out before going into Blade Show where I'm going to go, what booths I wanted to hit up, and I really didn't actually stick to any plan. The first place that I went to and was actually TRM's booth, and because I heard that they were selling some shadows, and this has been a knife that's been very high up on my list of like wants for quite some time, and it's just a very elusive knife to get, and so I headed there first. Obviously, Three Rivers is a U.S. manufacturer, and they put out small batches here and there, and they just they get eaten up really quickly within the community. So I was able to get in on an early bird pass and made my way right to that booth. And so I picked up not just one, but I picked up 2 TRM shadows, one in titanium and one in G10. And I will never get rid of these. They're very, very special knives. And the titanium one, absolutely going to keep that one for dress as much, it's such a nice knife. But I did pick up the G10 version as well, because I really want to use this knife. The blade stock is so thin. The 20 CV is done really well on the heat treat. Super smooth on their river lock, which is their version of the axis lock. The milling that they do on the G10 and on the titanium as well is so well done. Everything about this knife just screams quality. It's not the most inexpensive knife, but there's a reason why it's not, because it's made so well. So if you guys get a chance to, check one of these out or even pick one up, I highly advise you to do so, because it is a fantastic knife. And for those of you who don't know me or do know me, I have huge hands, like really big hands. I'm smaller than Faction, but I have bigger hands than he does. And this knife feels amazing in hand. It just begs for you to choke up into that choil. It's a great knife.
Yeah, I have a Neutron 2, which I've really raved about the quality. The only thing that stinks about TRM is you definitely have to get in right away, and that when they drop their knives, because they'll sell out in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's it's been months of frustration, when they have a drop and it's like I go to check out and it's like, hey, sorry, it's not available anymore.
Oh.
It's happened to me a couple times, but
well, cool.
I got lucky and very fortunate at Blade Show that they had the Shadow in stock in both the titanium. And I'll be honest, I wasn't actually looking for the titanium. I was just looking for the G10 version, but as soon as I saw the titanium version, I'm like, yeah, I got to pick one of those up.
No doubt.
So yeah. So what ended up happening at Blade Show for me, I didn't know how many knives I was going to purchase. I had kind of a rough budget as to where, I wanted to land. And I think the majority of people that go to Blade Show have a budget in mind, and usually they supersede that budget. And I did a little bit by a few $100s, but I'm glad I did, because I ended up buying 6 knives, and 5 out of the 6 knives that I bought happened to be made here in the USA. So I didn't intend that to happen. It just is what happened. So those are the 5 knives I'm going to share. So I just shared the TRM Shadow. And the next knife, well, actually, I can't share one of them. I don't have it in hand right now. It's just being shipped back to me. It's I'll mention it. It's American Blade Works Model 1 in titanium. Michael, the owner of American Blade Works, has been doing some tremendous work with that Model 1, and I think he's on version 6 of that knife. I do have a knife to replace it for today, and actually I'll pull that one up right now. And that is this guy here. You guys probably know the ProTech Malibu. This happens to be in the textured aluminum with the black coating. And I believe it's 20 CV on this blade, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's 20 CV. Yeah, 20 CV. This has a nice stone wash finish on it. This is a really excellent button lock. For those of you who have not held a Malibu in hand, even in my large hand, it feels super comfortable. It's got an incredible lockup, and the button on it works fantastic. There's no stick on this one at all. So yeah, ProTech Malibu. A lot of people have had this knife for a long time. I just picked this one up a few months ago, and I don't know why I waited so long, because it's a great knife. So, okay. Let's see. The next one that I picked up, and this might surprise some of you because I'm more into folders than I am into fixed blades, but about 6-7 months ago, I went to a Pew Pew show here in Phoenix, and Tops Knives happened to be at that show, and I got to handle a lot of their knives. First time. I didn't really know who Tops Knives was until I saw them there at the show. And I should have picked one of these up then, but I waited until Blade Show Atlanta. And this is the Tops Knives Hornero. It is a little EDC fixed blade. It's got a very nice micarta, both black and brown micarta handle. Very thick blade stock. However, there is a high grind on this blade. As you can see, here, I'll hold it the right way. What's neat about this knife is that it literally just melts into your hand. There's no hot spots on this. My big hand fills this knife. It just begs to be used. And I really, really, really like this knife. If you are at a show and Topps happens to be there, I highly recommend that you pick one of these up. They're actually not that bad at the show. If you buy them online, they're a little bit more expensive. But if you can find them at a show, they're very reasonable. Very nice Kydex sheath that comes with it. Has good retention. Very snappy. Holds it in there really tight. So great little fixed blade.
That's a knife I would buy. Absolutely.
Oh, it's excellent. Seriously, it is.
Absolutely. That's the kind of fixed blade size I like to carry right there.
Yeah, this is going to be one that I, will actually carry with me. Not like every day, but often. And especially if I go camping or if I'm out on the boat or whatnot, this is going to be one that I take with me. Let's see. The next one. So, yeah, Friday, the first day that I was there at Blade Show, I was actually making a purchase at American Blade Works booth for the Model 1. And I got a titanium version of that knife. Fortunately, it had a little bit of lock rock, and I had to send it back to Michael for him to make some adjustments or, to fix it. And that's not taking anything away from his knives. They're amazing. Mine just happened to have a little bit of lock rock. So he's fixed that, and it's on its way back. But there was a booth next to him. This gentleman out of Florida, his name is Lloyd, and he produced this knife. It's a fixed blade. This is ironwood on the handle. And this is my first custom knife. I've never had a custom knife. I don't know what it is about this knife and why it just spoke to me. But as soon as I saw it on his table, it just, yeah. It's a traditional Bowie and has a beautiful guard or pommel. Well, the pommel would be on the end, but it has a beautiful guard on it. $10.95. It's a hand rubbed satin finish. As you can see, the lines go horizontal and not vertical. There is not one flaw on this knife. And this particular knife also has the handle has been, I don't know if you want to say it's been carved out or I wouldn't say carved, but however he did this handle, it just conforms to the hand and it fits my hand perfectly. Like there's
the relief cuts. Yeah, the relief cuts on it.
Relief cuts. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. It just conforms, to my hand as soon as I wrap around it and get a good grip. I'm gripping this thing tight and it does not hurt one bit. It just fills my hand. Beautiful knife. I told him that if it was still available on Sunday, that I would come and talk to him about it. I didn't know if I was going to buy this knife or not. He was able to work out a deal with me. It was, in fact, still for sale on Sunday, and I picked it up. So really happy about that purchase. So let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to make a choice here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 5 if you include the two shadows. Tell you what.
You can give us a bonus knife. We'll take a bonus knife. That's cool. I
tell you what, I'll save the bonus knife I'll take and put this one up just because this happens to be my favorite pocket knife. And it has been for a few months since I got it. I almost bought another one of these at Blade Show in a different color. But I chose to look elsewhere, and I don't know, maybe I'll add another one. But this one happens to be the Tactile Knife Company. This is the Rockwall with the thumb stud deployment.
Awesome.
And again, another USA made knife. This is, I think, their third design that they've come out with. And again, the steel on this one is in MagnaCut. Nice stone wash finish. Mm-hmm. It is just the perfect EDC knife. I can get all 4 of my fingers around it, even with my big paws. The lockup on it is excellent. The thumb stud deployment is one of the snappiest that I've had in hand. There's very few knives that I own with thumb studs that deploy as well as this guy. excellent knife. If you have a chance to pick one of these up, they're not cheap. They go for around $300, but I can tell you right now, the milling is fantastic. There's no imperfections on these knives whatsoever. And I've had a couple of these in hand and they are all the same. So the consistency of workmanship is just incredible.
Yeah. Good quality control, good tolerances.
Very good tolerances. Yeah.
Very,
incredible
very cool.
tolerances. So the last knife I think I'll share is one that actually was waiting for me when I got home from Blade Show. I ordered this one months ago from knifecenter.com. When it was released, unfortunately, my order didn't make the cut, and so therefore it was left on back order. I've never had one of these knives from this maker. This is a Hogue Deca, and it's obviously a knife that is supposed to compete with the Bug Out from Benchmade. This particular one has the gray plastic handles, or FRN, and this one happens to be in MagnaCut as well. So one of the things that really attracted me to this knife is, of course, the MagnaCut steel. I don't know how well it's going to hold up yet. We'll have to wait and see. But Elisha Witz, who designed this knife, is one of my favorite designers. And I have a couple old Benchmades that are Elisha Witz designed. And so when I saw that the Deca was designed by Elisha Witz, I had to pick one of these up to give it a try. So
very cool. I have the 20 CV version of that knife.
You got the 20 CV, okay, yeah, which I'm sure is excellent. So really thin blade stock on this guy. I haven't really had a chance to test this out yet.
I call them bug out killers.
Yeah.
They're pretty much the same, in that same classification as a bug out.
The action on this is really, really smooth for an Axis style lock. What does Hogue call that lock? Do they call it something else?
Able lock.
Able lock, that's right. So this is going to break in really nicely. I can already tell that. And just going to be a nice, EDC knife that I can use and carry. And I don't care if I beat this one up because I can always take and get different scales for it too. They're starting to come out with aftermarket stuff for this knife. So that's my 5 for 5. Hopefully, if there's something there that you guys, that you fancy that you can take a look at, I'll post up a photo of these two on my Instagram. Nice. And all recommended knives. I think.
Yeah, those are all awesome. I mean, I love seeing Blade Show stuff because a lot of times you see stuff that you wouldn't normally see. There's a couple of examples of that in what you showed us tonight. So that's super
right.
Cool. Awesome. Well, if anybody has any questions on the knives he showed, feel free to throw those up on the screen. I'm going to bring you back out of Bigified for now.
That's fine.
So you're going to stick around for a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're going to like the next segment where I'm about to enter into. I want a couple quick reminders because we have 41 people in the stream right now, and we have 32 likes. So if you came in the stream in the last 15 minutes while Cue Ball has been talking or so, please hit the like button for me. Going to go over a couple of quick things. I see Jason Brown came into the stream. We shouted you out earlier, Jason. I know that you and Patina Turner and somebody else did a big solid for one of the people here in the stream tonight in the knife community. So shout out to you for that. I also wanted to remind everybody, Fully Deployed episode 4 is up now. It is like 2.5 minutes long. So take 2.5 minutes out of your day and go over and watch it. The word of the week. Where's that? Right here. There you go. All right. Yeah, exactly. And then July 5th. So Tuesday, July 5th, the day after 4th of July, that live stream event I will be calling the belated 4th of July celebration stream. There will be a knife giveaway on that day. It is the nicest knife I have given away so far on this channel. You do not want to miss it. Mark your calendar. Make sure you're here to celebrate the 4th of July belatedly with me. Even if you got a hangover, tune in. You'll have a chance to win some cool stuff. Okay, I'm not going to advertise that on Instagram or anywhere on my page because I only want you folks that come and support my channel to have a chance to win this awesome pay it forward knife. Okay, enough about that. So now I want to get into every live stream. You guys know that I love to bring up a question or a topic. Okay, So I'm going to give you a little history, and it's going to lead into the discussion. So here's the thing. And Cue Ball is going to realize where I'm going with this, I think, once we start talking, because you, Maddie, Satu Dave, and myself had a little tiny discussion about this when we had our knife meetup at your house in Phoenix. I want to talk about knife steels for a minute, okay? And when I finish talking about knife steels, I'm going to throw out a talking point. Can you say hi to Mike? He's working with me. What's up? Tree Stabbing Troy would like me to shout out Mike. What's going on, Mike? You should be watching Eionan's Edge live the next time you're not working. All right. So here's the deal. 1949. 1949 was the first year on record that they used 440C for publicly available knives.
Wow. Okay? I didn't realize it was that long ago.
All right. And 440C was considered the gold standard for a long time in knives. 1972, even though the steel is older than this, 1972 is the first time that Cruciable's 154 cm was used commercially in knife production. Okay? Around 1960, the date is a little vague. Japanese VG10 hit the market in competition with 154 cm and 440C. It kind of makes sense because there was the reconstruction after World War II. It took them a decade or so to get the steel production up and develop their own steel. Around 1966, D2 steel first started appearing on knives. You're probably wondering where this is all going, and you're going to see when I get to a couple of these later dates. In the 1970s, Cruciable's 10V was introduced. It was actually called 360 back in those days, right? And then here's the big jump forward. So let's look at this. From the 70s back to 1949, the main steels used in knives were 440C, 154 cm, VG10, and D2. Those were your main options. Now, I'm not talking about Bowie knives and hatchets and things like that had carbon or tool steels in them. These were just steels that were used in knives commonly. Okay, and those were the approximate dates that they began becoming available. So then we go and we jump, guys, we make a pretty big jump here to 1983. In 1983, Crucible came out with S60V, but it wasn't called S60 then because it wasn't powdered metallurgy. It wasn't until 1995 that Crucible patented powdered metallurgy and released S90V under a different name. And it was not a knife steel at the time. It didn't actually appear in the first knife until 1999. So here's the big turning point in knife steels as far as production knives go. In 2001, in cooperation with Chris Reeves Knives and one of his engineers, Crucible released for the public S30V. Okay, 2001. So prior to 2001, you really only had about 8 or 9 readily available popular steel choices on a knife if you were a buying consumer, right? Knife manufacturers could buy other stuff, and custom manufacturers sometimes did, but the powdered steel S30V didn't actually become available on the market until 2001. So let's think about that. It's 2022. So a little over 20 years, we've had powdered super steels, okay? And just for reference purposes too, 12C27, which is a Sandvik steel, which later became 14C, that didn't actually get used in knives for the first time until the late 1990s.
Wow. And
that's not a powdered steel. So here's what I'm getting at with this, okay? This is where I'm going. S35VN didn't get released to the public till 2009. And M390, 20CV, and Carpenter 204P, which are all the same steel, by the way. There's slight variations in them, but they're basically the same steel formula. 20CV was developed by Crucible. The original formula was developed by a company called Latrobe, but they didn't do powdered steels. So they went to Crucible and said, hey, we want a powdered steel version of this. Hence 20CV was born. So M390, 20CV, and CTS 204P did not generally appear in production knives until 2010. That's 12 years ago. And this past year in 2021, a steel that Q-Ball just showed you, MagnaCut, finally hit the market. Laren Thomas and Crucible developed that steel together. All right. So if you really look at the time frame, we're going back about 20-ish years to where the steels that we have today, and these are just the most popular ones. I'm not talking about all the tons and tons of other steels that knives come in these days. We haven't had these steels that long. Prior to 20 or 25 years ago, your choices of steel in a production knife and even a lot of custom knives was not that big. Now it's as big as the stars almost, it feels like. So here's my question to you guys. Here's what I'm throwing out here for discussion. Knowing what I just told you and knowing how small the window is that we've had all these amazing super steels, do you believe that we are in the golden age of knife collecting? You've got handle choices, you've got materials choices, you've got more steels than you can shake a stick at. Just in the last 25 years, you've had dozens of super steels hit the market, literally dozens of super steels. Are we in the golden age of knife collecting right now? What do you guys think?
Good question. You know, it's not just the materials; it's also the innovation that we're seeing, like in the different locks. Demco, obviously, with their shark lock, and they had the triad lock and the scorpion lock, and then there's I know there's was it Columbia River had their own version of a lock that came out, and then there's some of the different ones that I've seen, prototypes. I'm trying to remember the one called I think it's called the Raven lock. Mm-hmm. It has like 18 different ball bearings that locks it into place. I mean, there's just so much innovation being done, right now, and coming out with all these new designers and different knife companies. I mean, shoot, we have people in the community that are designing their own knives. I mean, look at Lefty. And Kevin and Colin,
right, David from Blade Banner, right?
Blade Banner. It's incredible. So I think when you put everything together, I think we are in the golden age for sure.
With knives, you are correct. S60 was the first super steel, but it wasn't called S60 then. It was powdered later. So the formula for that, I wrote that down. S60 came out in the 80s, and it was the first super steel, but it really wasn't used in knives very often at all, hardly ever. And then later when Crucible came out and started making powdered steels, that's when all the other, everything S30V and up became powdered. And obviously they make a whole bunch of them now. You've got S30, S40, 35 VN, S45 VN, S60, S90, S110. There's a whole slew of their steels. 20CV is one of theirs. So just that one company has like a huge batch of steels that all are knife steels now that you have to choose from.
And we're seeing powdered versions of tool steels now.
Right. I mean, well, actually, they took 154 CM, Crucible did, and it's not CPM 154 is powdered 154, and CPM D2 is powdered D2, which is way better than regular D2.
Right.
So that's what I mean. Like what's happened in the last 25 years, but more specifically from 2001 to now, is incredible. And what we were talking about at the knife meetup was that I'm not really a steel snob on knives. If I buy a high-end knife, I do expect it to have high-end steel. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't use a knife I really liked if it had good heat-treated 440C, or if it had good 14C28N on it. I would still use that knife. I would still feel like that was a quality knife, because all those steels are still quality steels. It really just depends on who they're presented by. Right. But I feel like we're in the golden age of knives. Like, you have so many choices. You can buy a knife for $30 that if you took it back to 2000, 2001, and you walked into a knife show with it, and you asked somebody what they thought that knife would cost, they would tell you hundreds of dollars. And you can buy a knife with that kind of quality for not much at all, 30, 50, 70 bucks, right? Yes, the knives that are higher priced are wickedly amazing nowadays. But that just goes to show you how much choice we have and how much variety there is between an inexpensive knife and a really good quality knife.
Right.
And again, really, guys, don't nick me on all the exact dates. You might be like really up on when 14C exactly hit the market. I just went by a couple of articles and things that were on Cruciable's website. So I'm not trying to be exactly to the year perfect, but I'm giving you a general idea of the history of steels that we typically have in our knives today.
No, thank you for doing that. I didn't realize that some of the, those steels came out as early as they did. Hey, really quick, Jason Brown mentioned, said CV is really sick at the moment. So just a shout out. If you guys can keep him in your thoughts and prayers, please. Yeah, he's going through some challenges right now. So just if you can keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, guys. CV is another one of those people. He is a cornerstone person in this community.
Oh, absolutely.
A cornerstone person in his community. He's done so much to help so many people, and he's one of the most gracious, big-hearted guys there is. So yes, please, thoughts and prayers for him, and hopefully he will recover and turn around from this, and we'll have him back doing what he does so well very soon.
I'll be honest, I was very blessed to be able to hang out with said CV, Snuz and Matisfaction on our road trip. It was we said it was going to be epic, and yeah, it was beyond epic. So those guys are characters. I was I didn't think I was going to be able to hang, to be quite honest, because they're so funny.
I love seeing the vlogs too, because it was really cool to see what you guys were doing. I knew that the four of you guys would have an epic time.
It was a lot of fun. It was definitely going to be a trip that I remember for my for my lifetime. So.
Yeah, and so Jeremy Freak Show brought this up. Very few steels are actually designed for use in knives. Nowadays, more of them are. But yes, prior to 2001, and that was like a big turning point. That's kind of what I was reading about. That shift over to that steel made specifically for knives happened right in that time frame. And that's when we started getting more steels made specifically to use as cutting utensils and as knives. But prior to 25 years ago, there weren't a lot of choices, right? Steel manufacturers used their steel for everything else. Their steel went to all kinds of other purposes, and they would pick steels. Knife makers would pick steels that had desirable properties and use those prior to that point. So you got what was available a lot of times. Now we have a ridiculous amount of choices in knife steel. And I just use that as the jumping off point for this conversation. We've got micarta, we've got milled aluminum, we've got milled titanium, we've got carbon fiber, right? Carbon fiber wasn't, I don't know when it would be, but I've bought knives for a long time, and carbon fiber isn't something that when I was 20 years old was ever on a knife, even though carbon fiber existed then. It was a high-tech material. They didn't put carbon fiber on knives back in 1985. I think
Benchmade just started putting carbon fiber, making special handles, back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. So yeah, I mean, G10 for a long time was kind of the premium material that knives were being made of.
Exactly right. Well, yeah, and actually, there's a funny thing because there's a little bit of symbiotic relationship between G10 on knives and G10 on pew-pews, right? So pew-pews had G10 used as grips and stocks and other components like that for a long time, and then all of a sudden, knives, it happened on knives too. And somebody, Corporalite Steve said, I would rather have a good heat treat than a mediocre M390, and that's true, right? It's not all the same stuff. Like manufacturers and the way that they process stuff has a lot to do with that. You could get a really kick-ass 14C 28N knife that was heat treated really, really well by a good OEM, and it performs better than an M390 because somebody didn't heat treat it properly, right? I mean, that can happen. But in general, the choices that we have Like, and I guess, it's cool having you on because you just came from Blade Show. I mean, I would think that it's a little bit overwhelming. I'm going to go next year for sure to walk in there and see so many knives, so many different knives from so many different people. And the vast majority of them are probably really cool looking knives, really amazing knives. And that's not even all the choices that you have as a knife collector or a knife enthusiast.
Three days isn't long enough to see everything at the show. I mean, they had not only the main room, but they also had a giant ballroom off to the side that was full as well with vendors. And I only spent a little bit of time in that secondary room, and I felt bad because there was a lot of good things to see in there as well. So yeah, I guess when you walk into that show, and not to take it away from the conversation, but when you walk into that show, it's almost like walking out in public. You start to kind of become desensitized to all the knives because there's so many of them. It's just like when you walk into a large crowd of people you've never seen before. You don't really notice, oh, I don't know that person. I don't know. It's kind of the same feeling,
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why, again, I tried to have somewhat of a plan, but then again, yeah, we know what happened with that plan. But anyways, no, there's so many different steels, and for many of you who don't know me, I just started collecting a little over about a year and a half ago. And that's, really COVID is kind of what, is the reason why I started to collect knives. It was something I could do at home. I found the community on YouTube, and then I think my first knife was the Delica 4, and that had the VG10. And then I discovered that, oh shoot, there's all these different blade steels. What's M390? What's 14C28N? I remember Jared Neve talking about 14C28N and how great it is. And then, I remember 154 CM from my Benchmade that my brother gave to me back in 1999. I have a Leishowitz mini striker, and that was like top tier steel back then. And so to come into the community now at this point, it's almost overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, well, what should I, get? What should I use? And what I've done is just kind of, my collection kind of has a variety of different steels. And I'll be honest, I'm really not a fan of one over the other. As long as they cut and I can sharpen and maintain them, and they do what I want, which is to cut, then I'm okay with it. And even 8CR, right? I mean, it serves a purpose at a particular price point.
Well, an 8CR is just a Chinese name for the 400 series of stainless steels.
Yeah.
That's just China didn't want to call it 440 or 420 or whatever, so they came up with their own naming convention. Right. But one of the things I wanted to point out, Me with Knives mentioned 154 CM was created for engine blades on jets, right? So that's what I mean. Like back then, they took a steel that was created for a different purpose and said that'll work really great for knives, and that's what you got. And now we don't have that. Now we have a lot of choices, and a lot of these steel blends have been perfected to the point where they really do work well for knives. The other thing you brought up that I think is important too is like a lot of people don't know what steels are. And I would take 1 second to just show for myself. If you're in the stream and you are listening to this conversation and you're like, I'm a little lost, I don't know what all these steels mean, go to my channel. I did a 20-minute overview on steels from the budget ones all the way up to some of the more popular expensive ones. And I use flashcards and I actually show you examples and I tell you the differences between the steels. I took that information from a very trusted source. So if you want to learn a lot about steels, go check out my introduction to knife steels. It's a really easy video to watch, and I explain the stuff really in very layman's terms. But yeah, I mean, and the sharpening thing you brought up is another good point. You brought up the sharpening thing, and I like that because, yeah, he says 8CR 13 MOV is basically 440B. Exactly, that's what I was saying. The Chinese just use that naming designation. They don't call it 440C or 440B or 420HC. They use that 8CR, 9CR, et cetera designation. The 10CR one is basically a little better than VG10, for instance, right?
Yeah, they use the actual element, chromium.
Yeah. And by the way, shout out to Mattisfaction.
Hey, Mattisfaction.
I'm always lost.
Hey, I hope Microfaction is doing well.
Yes, that's a Microfaction.
Yeah.
Microfaction. I understand he is doing okay, but Positive vibes out to that. Let me see. My phone's been wonky since coming back. Okay. So anyway, that's kind of where I wanted to go with this. Like, I just wanted to see what you guys thought. What, do you feel like this is one of the golden times for us to be knife enthusiasts and knife collectors? I feel that way. I certainly feel that way. Being in my mid 50s and having been buying and collecting knives off and on over the years since I was in my 20s, basically, I look at the last 30 years, I'm like, man, we have just rocketed, especially the last 10 or 15 years. We have just rocketed to a completely different place with what's available as far as knives. I mean, like I said, for those of you folks who went to Blade Show, you had to just have been like walking around with your mouth hanging open all day because there's so much to look at.
It's overwhelming.
So,
and we're talking about production knives. I mean, look at, going in and seeing some of the custom knives. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's, crazy.
Freak Show that said this is a topic I could talk for days about. True, and I just wanted to kind of get a general feel, like, and I didn't know how many people knew about research, and I put on a flashcard. I spent like a whole day reading up about knife steel history to come up with these dates to give you guys. So really, like I said, from 1949 to basically the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, there was only a handful. You could count them on less than the fingers that I'm holding up of steels that were really used for knives commonly and were available to be commonly used. Some custom knife manufacturers had access to certain stuff, but that wasn't commonplace. And then, like I said, 2001 forward, that's where it just exploded. So that we're talking 22 years, basically 21 years. And then the last thing I was going to say is MagnaCut, right? That just came out 2021. It was officially released. And there have been a little growing pains and some teething pains with some of the people getting the heat treat range right and things like that. But here's my prediction, and I know you agree with me because we chatted about this through text. I think in another year or two, MagnaCut will be what M390 and 20CV is in the knife community right now. You will see that on a lot of knives. You will see it on a ton of knives. That will be the steel everybody will want to have on their for $250, $300, $400 knives. That's going to be the steel everybody wants to use.
Yeah, and as they're they're finding out what heat treat is works best with it, and they're discovering how well it performs. I think 63, 64 is what they said is kind of the sweet spot, or anything over 63. But even I don't think that on the tactile, the Rockwall, it's above 62. I think it's either 61 or 62. It still performs really, really well. And you're right. And this steel was made for knives. That's the thing. It was
another thing that
specifically for knives.
Yeah, another thing that affects edge retention too is not just the steel and the heat treat, but it's the blade design. It's the geometry. How thin of an edge is there behind the knife? What type of blade style is it being put on? All of those things affect the way that a steel performs, right? If you've got a not so great edge design that looks really cool and it's really thin behind the edge and it's got a high angle on the blade, well, obviously that's going to be more prone to losing an edge than something that has a wider angle on the blade and has a little more thickness behind the edge. It's just plain science, right? The more steel there is down here at the tip, the longer it's going to last.
Greed satisfaction.
Where is he at here?
The other thing to think about too.
Yes. Is that the one, or did I miss it?
Oh, he just said that MagnaCut. There's a reason why it's so good.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's because it is good. It's awesome.
Yes.
The other thing to think about too is, with as far as edge geometry, learning how to sharpen knives is becoming it's a lot more accessible now because of the systems like from WorkSharp and TS Prof, and there's the KEF, it's KF. I can't remember the one. There's another popular one. But there's a lot of different systems out there now that are making it easier and easier for people to sharpen their own knives, put in a different angle or reprofile their blade edge, and that's really cool. and obviously there are some people that are going to take it even further and get into the, into the flat stones. And I think that's awesome. That's an art that, we really haven't paid attention to as a society for quite some time. So, the fact that that's becoming more and more prevalent now within our community, you're going to see that part of the hobby grow as well.
I agree. I mean, I know how to sharpen on a stone because I learned how to do that when I was in my late teens. But honestly, once I bought some of the Work Sharp sharpeners, and then once I bought the Precision Adjust Elite, and I bought the little Cavist block to support it, like, I don't even want to bother, because it's so much easier for me to get a professional looking edge on that thing than it is to sit down with a stone and take the time and the patience to do it. And the other thing is, my eyesight is not as good as it was when I was in my 20s. So my point is just that there's so many more options out there now than there was before. So he said that's not actually correct. A thinner angle will cut longer. 17 edge will last longer than 20. That's not what I read, but I mean, but I'll take it your word on that. I mean, typically the more steel there is behind the edge, the longer it will last. That's kind of like the micro bevel thing.
So Freak Show, question about that. I have a question about that. If you have a lesser degree angle, obviously that's going to take and create, a more slicier profile. Yes. But doesn't that introduce, the ability, for chipping to
rolling, right? Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, that is going to be then dependent on the steel, the heat treat, whether you can sharpen to a lesser degree angle. So,
right. Yeah. But the greater point I was getting at is just like I was saying, blade geometry and how it's ground and what kind of angle it has on it. All that stuff has a lot to do with how long an edge lasts on a knife, right? Not just heat treat. There's a lot of other factors that go along with that. Let's see. That's why so much ingot D2 steel knives. It was a popular seller and only within the last 7 years. I think just because D2 is a pretty tough steel. It's hard to sharpen for a lot of people. But it's one of those things where you can get it and use it for a long time. I think where a lot of people don't like D2 is because it's not fully stainless. So if you don't keep it clean, it can rust. And although all steels technically can rust if you leave them exposed to the elements long enough. And then the other thing is that, it's difficult for people to put a good edge back on it. So then they go, I can't get it sharp anymore, right? But if you know how to sharpen, there's nothing wrong with D2, as long as you're willing to take a little time and care. The edge will be more brittle, but the edge retention will be greater, right? Okay, so there we go. That's what I was getting at. Artisan Cutlery is dropping D2 steel now. They're going all ARRPM because it's better. That ARRPM 9, I've used it. That's a great steel, man. That stuff punches above its weight class as well. So we've had some good conversation about knives and what's available today. And my whole point in this was just to get you guys thinking about how lucky we are to have all the stuff that we have now, right? We have so much more choice as consumers than we had 20 years ago, or even a little bit further back than that. So, don't shake off a steel on a knife because it seems budget, right? If it's a reputable knife maker and a company that's known for putting out good quality products, you might still be getting value at that price point. Softer steels or less expensive steels, you might have to sharpen them a little more, but they'll still perform. I mean, I used to have to sharpen my knives a lot, when I was in my 20s and 30s. But I learned how to sharpen, and I just sharpen knives a lot. Well, okay, it's dull. I sharpen it, and I take it back out and use it again for another week or two. So that was my point. And I'm glad we got a lot of good responses, because I feel like that's something that we don't talk about enough in the knife community. We don't talk about how many choices there are out there. And the other thing is not everybody can afford a premium knife, right? So there's a lot of knives that come with 8CR or 440C or VG10 or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with those steels. They're perfectly acceptable to use.
That's probably another reason why I feel that we're in the golden age too, is that you have perfectly good steels such as 14C, D2, 8CR that you can now go and buy a knife that's, $15-20, and you're going to have a knife steel that's at least decent for cutting, much better than going in and buying a stainless steel gas station knife.
Exactly.
I mean, seriously, you can go and spend $20 on a gas station knife, but why? I have a couple Ganzos, and I know that a lot of people don't like Ganzos because of the whole copying thing and whatnot. But I'll tell you what, their build quality is pretty darn good. And yeah, it's a Chinese-made knife, and I know that a lot of people are against that too. But I will have to say that I'd much rather buy a $20 Ganzo knife than going in and buying a $20 gas station knife.
Or a Walmart knife, one of those
Walmart knife, right?
Ozark Walmart knives, right? Hey, I love this comment right here by Aberdeen Blades. He says, "My knife collection is just 12 Boca."
That's awesome. I don't even have a mermaid, so maybe we'll have to talk, Aberdeen.
Sobex asks, how does Asher produce S30N, 35VN for $100? It's because they're saving so much money on all the other parts. Really, that's really what it is. He buys all the parts are coming from China. So
yeah, Winchester, that was a while ago. You're right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that's where it comes from. I mean, so he's able to make a markup on his knives because he's getting all the parts, and then he's taking the time to assemble the knives and make sure they're tuned and they're operating correctly. And that's why he's able to sell a Nomad with M390 on it that's good quality steel for $90, or a $100 S35VN blade for $100 or whatever. And there you go. Exactly.
This
right?
Nomad 3.0 is legit, folks.
That is a legit knife with legit steel. So anyway, that's what me with knives. Asher is assembling them here, but the thing is, and let's make a point about that. He's never hid that, right?
No,
he's never hid that. He's told people from day one, I am sourcing Chinese-made parts, good quality steels, and I'm then taking all those boxes and bags of parts and assembling the knives and selling them to you, and still making enough money to make it worth my while. And that's why he's able to do that. But he's never hid that fact ever.
Right.
So I'm okay with that, because at least you know what you're buying.
Yeah. Hey, really quick, Jason, it was an honor to meet you. So I just want you to know.
Okay, right here. Yep.
Yeah, Jason said it was awesome to meet me, and I have to actually retort and say it was awesome to meet you, man. So I have you are such a fixture here in the community and do so many awesome things for people. You definitely inspire me. So just know that. So, and many of you out there that are here tonight inspire me. So thank you.
I would agree with this too. Me with Nice says Gonzo even nails their heat treat for 440C. I have a Gonzo with 440C on it, and I've used it a lot since I got it, which is not that long ago. But I'll tell you what, that knife has held up really, really well. It has held a great edge. I've only ever had to re-strop that knife to kind of get it back to razor sharpness. So again, if the heat treat's right, even an older steel like 440C is still gonna give you good performance. So I want to jump off of this subject because we got about 20 minutes left, because I want to do story time, and I want to give you the word of the week and a couple of other things. So I hope all this information on the history of knives has been helpful to you guys. Obviously, there were some things you didn't know, and there was a couple things in there I didn't know when I was researching. I was like, holy cow, I didn't know that.
It makes me want to actually go and do some more research, to be quite honest.
And I didn't actually know a lot of those dates, and that a lot of those steels were created at a long time ago, but they didn't get used on knives for many years later. Right. And they didn't create powdered formulations and stuff of those steels until later down the road, because they needed them for knives. So it was fascinating to look that stuff up and kind of give that stuff to you tonight. Matt said, motherfucking story time. And Matt, because you're here tonight, Matt, one of my stories is going to be a dad story. Okay, I know how much you love dad stories, so I'm going to give you a dad story tonight. But before I jump into the dad story, my first story is actually a question I've been getting asked a lot. And I did cover this a long time ago on one of the very first lives I came on with Matt. When I was on Maddie's live, I covered this. So a lot of people have asked me about my name. They've asked me about Eionan, and they want to know what the name actually represents and how I came to use that name for my public persona. So I'll tell you this first. I looked up the name, and I chose the name for my gaming avatars.
Oh, wow.
So I used to be a huge World of Warcraft fan. My wife still plays to this day. I played for many years, from the beginning of Vanilla WoW all the way through up past the Lich King and a bunch of the other ones. And then I finally got tired of it. One day what I did was, on that game, you can actually type in /played and hit the enter button. And it will tell you how much actual real time in your life you have wasted playing video games. And mine said like 2 years and some odd days, some odd months and some odd days. And I went, holy shit, I need to find some other stuff to do. So that was one of my main characters in World of Warcraft. It was also the name of a bunch of other characters I had in some other sci-fi and fantasy games. But it's a real name. And here's the origin of my name, Eionan. So the name is derived from ancient Scottish and Celtic. The original name was in the feminine. It was Iona. And so Iona meant princess or queen of flight. Okay? There are 2 male derivatives of it. There is Eionar and Eionin. Okay? So I chose Eionan. So that basically would translate to the prince or the king of flight. Okay? So let's take a look at my logo for a minute. Okay? So if you look at my logo, what you notice is it's a diamond shape, but it's actually 2 E's that are reversed facing each other.
Look like wings.
Oh, yeah, you're jumping ahead.
Sorry.
It's 2 E's facing each other. Okay? Which creates this pyramid-looking structure. So Eionan's edge, EE. But it also represents 2 wings pointed up with their tips up at the sky, ready to fly. Right? Hence, Eionan is the prince or king of flight. There are 2 wings on my logo. Right? It's a knockout logo. It's black and white. It's easy to recognize if you see it online or whatever. But that's the meaning of the logo and the meaning of my name.
That's really cool.
Right? So there you go. So it does have a significant purpose, and it is a real name from ancient Scottish and Celtic.
Michael, that's an. Are we being recruited to a cult right now? I love it.
Yes, Michael. Yes, there are subliminal messages and hand signals happening as we talk. Every time I flash this on the screen, one of you becomes a follower, right? So anyway, that's the story of my name, right? So yeah, Prince or King of Flight, exactly. So I did a lot of sci-fi and fantasy games. Obviously, World of Warcraft is a mishmash of a whole bunch of different genres all pushed together. So I wanted something that sounded kind of mystical and fantasy-like, and so
I didn't know that about you. I don't think we even talked about that at the house.
No, I used to be a huge gamer. I still play a lot of PlayStation console games and stuff like that, but it all has to be mixed in with the rest of my life. And I just, I used to sit right next to my wife and play World of Warcraft, and we had a family guild and spent many, many nights and many, many hours doing that. But over the years, I just kind of moved on to things. Yes, we all pledge allegiance to Eionan. There you go. So there's my cult there. You guys really are. On a serious note, you guys are my family. Everybody here that comes here on a regular basis and checks out my videos and watches my lives and hangs out with me, the cue balls, the Maddies, the Grumpies, the Jason Browns, the Michael Morgans. I'm not going to say everybody's name, but all of you guys, everybody who's in here tonight, the Marcoses, you guys, you're my cult. You're right. We are our group of peeps, right? I was having a conversation with somebody who I don't think is in the chat tonight, and he said, I don't really fit in a lot of other social circles. He goes, but I found my peeps with all of you guys. That's what he said to me. And I said, well, you did. You're 100% right. We are your peeps. This is your group, right? So let's see. Matt, I promised Maddie a dad story. So sit down, everybody, gather around. That's right. We are family, Stacy. That is true. Sit down, gather around. Uncle Eionan's going to tell a story. So here's the dad story, all right? The dad story. Everybody loves my dad stories. So my dad was a little dude. I told some of you this in another story. He was about 5'6", and he was about $150 soaking wet through most of his life. When he was younger, in his teens and 20s, he went a little less than that. But most of his life, growing up till he was pretty old, he pretty much weighed around $150, $155. And did you ever say what logo is on your shirt? Oh, yes. Modern Musket. This is Modern Musket. So this one over here is an old flintlock off of musket. And this other logo over here is the hammer for a modern AR-15 designed rifle.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And the message that that's supposed to relay is that technology changes, but our rights do not. Okay.
It's powerful.
Okay. That's what that means. All right. So gather around, children. It's story time. Grab your carpet, your milk, and your little pillow. And here we go. So my dad was a small guy, but he was very fierce. If you've listened to other stories about my father, if you've been in the chats and you've heard me tell other tales about Dad, you know my dad was an intense dude. My dad would ride on the back of go-karts, doing 60 miles an hour. He would he boxed in smokers during the Depression era. He fought with kids on the street with a shoe shine box in his hand so he could shine shoes as a little kid. That's what he did. So he could bring money home to his parents so they could buy bread during the Depression. Yeah. So he was a tough dude, and he was small, but he did not take kindly to people trying to take advantage of him. Well, my dad, before he started his own business, family business, he was a welder and a ship fitter. And he started welding at a place called State Welding in Hartford, Connecticut. That was one of his first jobs when he became trained as a welder. And his boss loved him because he'd weld anything. And he was small and wiry, so he could give him jobs that he didn't have to disassemble stuff, right? My dad could crawl under trucks and crawl under pieces of equipment and get in tight spots and get in there with a welder and weld stuff. And he was really good at it, right? At one time, he was one of the best, most highly rated welders on the East Coast. He did a lot of jobs, a lot of like really famous jobs. He got pulled in to do defense contracting jobs, things that he couldn't even talk about until he was really old and it didn't matter anymore. He welded on missile silos and shit like that, right? Anyway, he was a welder and he was more of, like starting out, he was a journeyman, whatever you want to call it. And he worked at this place called State Welding. And they did a lot of different kinds of work. And one of the things that my dad did was he welded gas tanks on big industrial vehicles. Oh, wow. It was a tough job to do because you had to be very careful about heat settings and all kinds of other crazy shit. I know how to MIG weld, but I don't claim to be a professional welder. But anyway, he was really good at it. But there was a guy in the shop that was kind of jealous of him all the time, that he got all these jobs and he did a good job on them. So the guy basically, when he was welding a gas tank, the guy set off a firecracker, something that went bang. And of course, my dad thought the tank was exploding and smacked his head and cut his head and everything like that. And so he didn't take kindly to that. And the guy played a couple other pranks on him. So this is how my dad got even with him. He waited till everybody else left. And he realized that this guy did not lock his toolbox in the shop every night. So he went to the guy's toolbox and he brought over a die grinder and he ground all the top off of the guy's workbench. And he welded his wrench set and his screwdriver set to the workbench. And he did it and he said, he goes, I didn't just tack it on there. He goes, I did a perfect fucking welding job. I rounded every bead. I pressed it all into every corner. He goes, I put it on there. So he goes, I welded every millimeter of that wrench all the way around. And he did his whole set of wrenches and he did his whole set of fucking screwdrivers. And he welded them all to the bed. So now they're totally junk. They're useless. Right? And he put his shit away and he went home. And the next day, the guy came in and found all of his shit welded to the bench. And he suspected that my dad did it. But luckily, the owner of the business was there and he said, I don't want any more pranks. He goes, you're going to have to buy some new tools. Goes, I don't want anybody else welding anything that's not on a truck or a piece of industrial equipment to anything else. But that's how my dad got even with the guy. I don't know how many hundreds of dollars that must have cost the guy, but I'm sure it was quite a bit. So anyway, that's Les's revenge, right? You just didn't mess with my dad. There's no way. Yeah, Scott says there's a big difference between someone who can weld and someone who can weld to an engineering specification consistently and safely. Correct.
Very true.
I can MIG weld. I'm the welded tubing on race cars and stuff, but I would never try to weld the stuff that my dad welded. So My dad was really good. He did teach me how to do basic welding with a torch. And I watched him weld shit with a torch. And that is a hard thing to do. Anybody who knows how to weld at all knows that welding with a torch is not easy. And he welded some amazing stuff together with a torch one time, and I was highly impressed. Anyway, I'm neither of those things, Grumpy Grunt says. Grumpy, what's up, my man? So anyway, that was my dad's revenge for practical jokes. And I've got more dad stories to tell some other time. But we are closing in on 5 o'clock, which is typically the end of my live stream. It's also the hour that Mr. Cole Tri-State begins his live stream, and I do enjoy Cole's live streams as well. I want to do a couple things real quick. I want to shout out the word of the week one more time to you guys, so you have it. I put it up on
Satisfaction, pay attention.
Also, during the broadcast, the word of the week was on the screen. Here it is, one more time. Write that down. All right. There will be a special giveaway later this year for people who have all the word of the weeks. There will be trivia, and there will be a special thing for just people who have all the word of the weeks. So write them down. Also, July 5th reminder, I will be doing a special belated 4th of July celebratory giveaway. Grumpy Grunt, who is in the chat right now, he did me a very solid thing. He gave me a knife, and I agreed to purchase another knife to give away to all of you folks, all of my peeps here in the stream, which I have done. That knife is en route to me now. It is the nicest knife I will have given away to this point. And that is a do something nice for someone, pay it forward. So you guys are going to benefit. That's right. You're going to benefit from Grumpy's kindness. And again, well, I was saying this at the beginning of the broadcast. It's not just one or two things that happen in this community once in a while. It's stuff that happens all the time. People in this community are always giving back. They're always doing nice things for other members of this community. And that's one of the things I love about being part of it. Okay? That's why I have the content creation. That's why I do the lives. I'm trying to give you guys as much as I can to show you how much I appreciate you taking somebody who thought he would have 2 videos a month and 50 subscribers to where I am now. Okay? I am eternally grateful to everybody who watches, listens to my weekly stories. I hope you guys enjoy the weekly talking point I do, because I put a lot of thought into it and a lot of research into it, like I did this week on knife steels, and I really appreciate that. So once again, everyone, thank you for coming into the live stream. I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you, Cue Ball, for coming on and doing the 5 o'clock. Awesome. It was great to have you on as a guest for the second half of the show. Really appreciate that. Big shout out to you in more than one way. And yeah, it spreads a wicked mayo. Be jealous. That's right. So hey, that's been mentioned. That word has been mentioned plenty of times tonight. If you missed this one, folks, when we go to do the drawing, something's wrong. Okay.
Yeah, something's definitely wrong.
Something's definitely wrong if you forgot this word of the week. All right. And to the rest of you guys, have a great rest of your week. I'll see some of you in a few minutes over on Cole's live stream. Once again, thank you, Cue Ball. Thank you, everybody in the live stream tonight. You are the best. I love you all. Have a good one. All right.
Have a good night, guys.